If you're a man over 40 who is trying to reclaim his strength and build some lean muscle, and you're thinking that perhaps your testosterone is holding you back, then this video is for you. So if you fall into that category of guy who doesn't want to, allow his strength, energy, and drive to slip as he gets older and wants to remain strong and vital into his retirement so that he can enjoy the latter years of his life and all the hard work that he's invested in his career, you've likely looked into supplements, biohacking, and maybe even TRT. But in today's video, I'm going to show you how the exercises themselves, especially bodybuilding, the old school way, can help you to optimize your testosterone. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do supplements and other biohacking things, and your nutrition and your rest and recovery are absolutely essential as well. But the exercising on its own, done correctly, can help you to optimize your hormonal profiles and achieve that level of vigor that you're looking for. Hey guys, Aaron Kubitz, personal trainer, functional aesthetics of Eau Claire, blending science and innovation to help busy men in their 40s build muscle, shed fat, and perform better inside and outside the gym. Pillar number 2 of my hybrid strength framework is bodybuilding. For those of you who are not familiar with my hybrid strength program at this point, basically what it is a strategic combination of muscular endurance training. So think push-ups, pull-ups, things you're doing like 20, 30 reps, or the set lasts for longer than 60 seconds, right? You're building that endurance in your muscles, okay? Next, you have old school bodybuilding. Then you have powerlifting, and then finally the keystone piece, or the top piece, is speed, power, and agility training, or athletic development. So bodybuilding is the second pillar in this framework, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the specific hormonal benefits that bodybuilding has, irregardless of outside factors like biohacking, the TRT, and the other things that we were talking about before. Now, optimizing any part of your physical health does not come down to taking a single supplement or doing a single kind of exercise or any one health practice, right? And that's one of the things I like about bodybuilding, is that the old school style of bodybuilding, before the drugs came on the scene and all that kind of stuff, was a holistic blend of multiple lifestyle factors to build a healthy lifestyle for the long term. In fact, they used to call it physical culture, and it even incorporated aspects of cultivating the mind and the spirit as well, in addition to the body. So with that being said, the exercise itself of bodybuilding can help you to optimize hormone production. And so what we're going to look at in today's video is a comparison between the various different styles of training in the hybrid strength program, for the muscular endurance training, the bodybuilding training, the powerlifting, and the speed and agility training, and see what hormones they specifically affect and why I have paired all these together inside of the hybrid strength training, because as you will see, certain of these ones will elevate cortisol more than other ones, while other ones will have a suppressive effect on cortisol. And so when you blend these strategically together, you can help to optimize the anabolic effects of your training while minimizing the catabolic, or that stress-inducing cortisol effects of your training. So first, we're going to look at testosterone. So bodybuilding has a moderate to high effect on your testosterone levels, and that really determines on which phase of your bodybuilding that you're in. Now, bodybuilding does encompass a variety of different training things. So there are going to be times when you're going to want to work in those powerlifting ranges, so the heavier weights, right? And that's more the end where you're probably stimulating a little bit more of that testosterone. And then you also have the moderate rep ranges and the moderate loads, which is where the most of your training is going to settle into, okay? Now, when you go and look at powerlifting, of the 4 methods in the hybrid strength system, powerlifting is going to have the greatest effect on your testosterone levels. Albeit, it's not going to be like TRT, where it just stays high all the time, right? It's going to have a transient effect where you spike that testosterone during the training, and then it starts to kind of climb down during your rest periods, in the subsequent days after training. Speed and power training also has an effect on your testosterone, but it's more going to be in that moderate range as opposed to the high range when you're lifting the really, really heavy weights. And then muscular endurance training, so that high repetition training, which is so common in like the martial arts and many endurance sports, is going to have the lowest effect on your testosterone levels. Now, the next hormone we want to look at is that stress hormone, cortisol, which we talked about, right? Now, cortisol isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it's very critical that you have cortisol. I like to think about cortisol as being the spark plugs for your body, as it were, right? It gets your body firing in the morning, right? And that's why, like, when you get up in the morning and you get that early morning sun in the eyes, or you get the bright light in your eyes, that is what stimulates the cortisol. You feel alert, right? And you're ready to go. And then as the day goes on, as the sun hits its zenith and about noon, your cortisol levels should be starting to drop down. And that is why this can be so detrimental to be viewing bright lights in the evening, is because then it's like getting a second sunrise, when in fact your body should be preparing for sunset. So of the 4 different styles of training in the hybrid strength framework, powerlifting is going to have, and Olympic lifting, speed, power and agility, those kind of training are going to have the highest effect on ramping up your cortisol. This is because they also have a very, of these 4 styles are going to contribute the most to central nervous system fatigue, which I believe I talked about in last week's video, which is the first in this series on the benefits of bodybuilding for men over 40, right? So it's going to have a high effect on central nervous system fatigue. So you have the nervous system, and as I talked about in last week's video, strength is a skill, meaning that you might have the muscle mass to be able to move a certain amount of weight, but you don't yet have the skill because you haven't been training. So if you're training in the bodybuilding rep ranges, moderate weight, moderate loads, or moderate repetitions, and the high volume, you're in good shape, you're moving a lot of weight during your workouts, but you aren't training specifically to recruit all that muscle fiber all at once for one explosive endeavor, like you are with powerlifting or Olympic lifting, sprinting, jumping, and that kind of stuff. So for this reason, it can be very fatiguing, especially if you're not managing the recovery appropriately. And this is where actually the muscular endurance portion comes in. So muscular endurance training actually has a very low effect on your cortisol. If anything, it helps you to manage the cortisol better. And this is one reason I have incorporated it into the hybrid strength framework. It also can help you to metabolize fats better and stuff, and improve your metabolic conditioning. But one of the primary reasons is that it helps you to recover faster from your higher intensity forms of training. Okay, so powerlifting and speed and agility training, that power training stuff, is going to have a high effect on your cortisol. So testosterone, it boosts testosterone, but if you're not managing your recovery appropriately, you can negate many of those positive testosterone boosting benefits that you're getting from the heavy lifting by ramping up cortisol too much. Because as if you've listened to my channel for any period of time, in many of my past videos I talked about how testosterone and cortisol have an inverse relationship. So when testosterone is going up, then cortisol tends to be more suppressed, and when cortisol is coming up, testosterone tends to go down. And so if you're doing a form of exercise that has the potential to ramp up the cortisol, but also ramp up the testosterone, you don't want to have a cancellation or a cancel out effect. So if you can speed up your recovery, enhance that recovery, and get the ideal balance so that you're getting that testosterone spike while also managing your recovery, that's going to be the best case scenario for you. Now, the last piece here, because we talked about the powerlifting, the speed and agility, and the muscular endurance in terms of cortisol, the last one is going to be bodybuilding. And bodybuilding can have a low to moderate effect on your cortisol levels. And so, again, that muscular endurance training can help you to recover from that as well. So in any discussion of athletic performance, and especially strength sports, be remiss if I left out the topic of growth hormone and IGF-1, also known as insulin-like growth factor 1. Now, bodybuilding, of the 4, bodybuilding is going to have the highest effect on stimulating growth hormone and IGF-1. And this has to do with the fact that bodybuilding training is generally done with high volume and moderate to short rest periods in between sets. When you're doing this, it causes your metabolic waste products to accumulate in the muscles, which then triggers the release of growth hormone and also this IGF-1, right? Now, as compared to that, the other ones are going to have a more modest effect on growth hormone and IGF-1. So the greatest stimulator of muscle building is going to be the bodybuilding style of training, right? And that's why bodybuilding style of training often prefaces powerlifting style of training, because you want to build that base of muscle, build mass, and then start training that mass for higher strength production. Now, it's a little counterintuitive because the name growth hormone, I banged my knee on a dumbbell when I was coming down here, and so it's, you know, a little wonky right now. But anyway, the name growth hormone is a little counterintuitive because growth hormone itself does not actually contribute to growth, right? Instead, it's actually a catabolic hormone. It breaks down and releases fatty acids and energy, and like glucose and stuff like that, to a lesser extent, because glucagon is the main one that does that. But it releases energy so that then IGF-1, which is the chief stimulator of muscle protein synthesis, can take that energy and use it in the production of building muscle, because building muscle is actually an energy exhaustive process, right? Your body has to use a lot of energy to build it. So not only are you using energy in the gym to break down the muscles, you also have to be replacing that with enough calories and stuff so that your body can go do it. And if enough calories aren't available, as if you are recompositioning your body, let's say you're at 20% body fat, oftentimes, you can be building muscle even as you are shedding the body fat. Your body can be breaking down through lipolysis with growth hormone, releasing those fatty acids, and then if you're eating a high protein diet, it can be using the fat to help fuel the production or the building of your muscles. So growth hormone doesn't actually stimulate the growth of the muscles, but it provides the energy so that the builders, the IGF-1 and the protein and stuff, can do their job to then go build the muscle. All right, so we saved the best hormone for last. And if you're wondering what that hormone is, it is insulin. Insulin is actually the master hormone. It affects nearly every organism, every tissue, and all the other hormones in your body. It's going to influence things like your growth hormones. It's going to influence your testosterone, and it's going to influence your ability to build muscle and shed fat. So this is why many times people with metabolic disorders, where they're insulin resistant, leptin resistant, can also struggle to shed body fat and build more muscle. The better your insulin sensitivity is, the better your performance is, the better your energy is going to be. You're going to be able to build muscle, and your food is more of it's going to get converted to energy and building muscle, as opposed to being stored as body fat. So between all of the 4 strength styles that we are talking about here, bodybuilding and muscular endurance training are going to have the greatest effect on improving your insulin sensitivity. And they do this because they are high in volume and tend to have relatively short rest periods. So particularly the high volume part, when you are depleting those muscles, particularly if you're trying to get lean, so you're in a deficit, you're also training with a lot of volume, that is going to make your muscles have to work harder for every gram of glucose or sugar, carbohydrates that they are getting. In the process, your body's going to become much more in tune, and it's going to mop up all the sugar that it can get, so you're going to get more energy from the carbohydrates that you get. On the other hand, if you're chronically eating too many calories, then you're going to oftentimes have a buildup of sugar in the blood. And anytime there's more sugar in the blood, the insulin has to go up, and then over time they're going up and up and up and up. And if you are chronically having that, then eventually you start burning out your pancreas because you can't produce enough insulin to keep up with the sugar, and then you have to start taking exogenous, start pinning yourself with insulin to bring those blood sugars down so they can get into the cell and come out of your bloodstream. Now, power training and speed and power and agility training and powerlifting can oftentimes have a negative effect on your insulin sensitivity. Not if they are managed appropriately, but if you are abusing them, if you're doing too much of them, again, as we said before in the section on cortisol, it's going to increase the cortisol, right? Now, cortisol is something that is called a glucocorticoid hormone, right? Gluco being short for glucose, so it's acting on sugar, acting on glucose. It helps to liberate sugar, particularly from your liver, from your muscles, to act as energy in a time of when you have to fight or flight, you need energy, right? You need that sugar when you are going to be doing something like very energy intensive, right? The problem is that if you are chronically in a stressed out state, so this is another reason why we're talking about that gas principle, right? General adaptation syndrome. All stresses are cumulative. So if you have a very stressful work life, then you go to the gym and you're doing drop down, beat down workouts and stuff, your level of stress can get to a level where it's just, you're starting to get into that, the exhaustion state, right? And so when levels of cortisol are remaining elevated and they're not coming down, right? Then what can happen is that, because what cortisol does, it starts depleting, it's taking sugar out of your liver, out of your muscles, and if it's depleting that, then you're craving more sugar too. So sugar tends to be chronically elevated in the bloodstream, and when that happens, you have to use more insulin, right? Because whenever sugar is elevated, insulin has to come up. So when that happens over a long period of time, more and more insulin will be required to keep those blood sugar levels in check, prevent them from remaining chronically high in the bloodstream, and as a result, you can start to develop some signs of insulin resistance. And so it's not dietary factors and other lifestyle factors are going to be a much more critical piece to consider here than strength training, because most people aren't going to be doing powerlifting to the level where they're just stressing their body out so much that they get insulin resistant. But it can be a contributing factor when you factor in all of the other lifestyle conditions that can potentially contribute to that insulin resistance in the long term. So it is definitely something to bear in mind with this process. So to recap, my hybrid strength program, and particularly the bodybuilding, can help you to optimize the hormones, right? The hybrid strength program is specifically designed to optimize the testosterone, lean muscle, strength gains, while accelerating the fat loss. You maintain your lean muscle tissue while you're accelerating fat loss through increases in metabolic efficiency from the muscular endurance training, and then also releases of adrenaline and stuff like that with the speed and power training that can help to also burn visceral fat. And then the recovery aspects that come from the muscular endurance training too. So powerlifting is going to help you to optimize that testosterone, also help you to increase myofibrillar hypertrophy, which is the actual increase in the muscle size of the muscle fiber itself. Bodybuilding training is going to help to increase levels of growth hormone and IGF-1 to stimulate more muscle protein synthesis. It's also going to contribute to sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, which is an increase in the amount of fluid inside of the sarcoplasm in your muscle cells, which again with creatine, that's one of the things that's happening too. You're drawing more fluid into the cells, which gives you more leverage, therefore you can lift more weight and perform longer. You have more stores of creatine as well, and the downstream effects of that are increases in muscle size and strength, apart from the cellular swelling that happens initially. Then the muscular endurance training aspect of this is going to help you to suppress cortisol levels and help you become more metabolically efficient by mobilizing fat for fuel to be used in your workouts, and also to increase your insulin sensitivity. If you'd like to learn more about this style of training, go check out my free resources down in the description below. You can also book a call with me at my calendar link if you'd like to learn more about my hybrid strength program, which is a 16-week strength and conditioning program designed specifically to help men in their 40s build 5 to 10 pounds of muscle while shedding 15 to 20 plus pounds of body fat and increasing their overall strength or their overall athleticism in just 20 to 30 minutes of dedicated strength training per day. If you're interested in learning more about that, go ahead and schedule the call on the link. And until then, if you would like to, if you found some value in the content of this channel and you'd like to see more of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel by hitting the button in the lower right-hand corner right over here. Hit that bell icon so you get all notifications from me when I put out a new video. And until then, we will see you all next week for more health and fitness information.